All right. I think we're going. Cool. I'm going to start off this stream by first saying I'm going to actually watch the comments. I missed a bunch of really good questions and observations from one of my friendly Twitter acquaintances, Mihai, yesterday. So I'm actually going to start this stream by addressing all of those really great live comments that were left, because I think I was thinking about some of these myself and actually hadn't considered some of these points that Mihai's made. So this first one, I don't have timestamps on these. I don't quite remember the context of what I was doing when these were asked, but I can get a good sense of like what Mihai's talking about here. So will this mean you have to duplicate variables for elements in these browser groups, even if you don't have that variable in another browser? For example, the highlight border color. This was the first, these are in sequential order. Like this is the first one that came up. And I think I actually got to this at the end of the stream where I was talking about something that was only going to be applicable to Safari. I think the answer is no. I think I can have, if it's a variable that especially exists in the way of like, this is like a color that I need, I think I can get away with not having it. What was that thing? It's kind of bothering me now. I guess like the active tab stroke. Right. That's what we were talking about. It was this example. So having this really thin stroke visible when you have an inactive tab and the neighbor to its left or its right is active, right? And I don't need that same treatment for Chrome and Firefox. And so when we get in here, it will be present for Chrome and Firefox. Like I'm just going to have empty colors there. And there's another point that Mihai makes later about using stroke width to also as like kind of like a sneaky way to manage it. Like I could set 0 for the stroke width, right? And then 1 for Safari. So yeah, no in the color theme collection, yes in the browser collection is what I'm going with now. Okay, will you do the icons with component variants to switch between icons for each browser via the variables? For folks who aren't familiar with that method and what Mihai's talking about here is you can set up, for example, I'm just going to draw a couple of rectangles here. We will select some different colors. So let's say this is Chrome. We'll do orange for Firefox, blue for Safari. Imagine these are icons. Like each of the browsers is going to need, like there's going to be some universal browser icons, like refreshing the page or adding a new tab, right? A plus sign. This is actually a really good example. Back and forward controls, right? So in Safari, we've got chevrons, right? They look like this. But in Chrome and Firefox, they're more like arrows. And even then, I mean, actually Chrome and Firefox, those are pretty similar. Firefox has like a longer stem on the end. But anyway, different glyphs, right? You could have a component set, create multiple components, combine them as variants. This could be icon back, page back, right? That's the control. And then you could set for the property here, this could be browser, right? And then we'd have, this is the blue one, so this would be Safari. This one is Chrome. This one is Firefox. I'm going to put auto layout on this frame here. Because these are strings, you could, if you wanted to target this with a variable, right? So I'm going to put this, pretend this is my browser window. This is one way that you can manage icons. There's a lot of different ways, actually, and that's a blog post that I have been very, very slowly chipping away at how to manage these kinds of things. But I want to show this method because it is kind of cool. If I wanted to be able to set this browser window in Firefox mode and have this automatically change, basically switch variants using variables. It is possible. You just have to have a variant property that has strings like this. So what I could do is, again, in my collection here, I'm going to get rid of these stops from yesterday that I was using to test variables. I'm going to need to create a string variable, and I could call this browser name. And again, we would have modes, and then the values would be the same. Now, I need to make sure, I think what's important for this method is that the capitalization, the spelling is all identical. Like this string has to match this string up here. So we've got Firefox and Safari. Safari, yes, okay. Oop. Oh my gosh, okay. Now, what I can do with this is on this component, I can hook up this property. Oh, I guess I can't do it on the main component. I don't think I can. Right? Yeah, no. I think you have to do it down here. On instances, you can hook up, yeah, this is what I was looking for. You can assign a variable to that property. And what I'm looking for is browser name. That's my property. So now when I set this whole browser window into the mode of Firefox, it changes. Now, watch what happens though if I have like a misspelling. If I have double X's here, it won't know what to do with that. So I'm going to reset this back to Chrome. I'm actually going to, well, we'll see if that works. Yeah. If I set this to Firefox now, yeah, it doesn't work. I added an extra X, right? So, but Safari should still work just fine. So that's how that works. That's one way to manage icons. Will I do this? Is this going to be the approach that I take? Maybe, potentially, because this is such a closed system, right? Like this is such a specific build that I'm doing, these browser windows. This isn't like this big complicated product or design system that I'm trying to set up. I would normally, I think, shy away from this because it does mean that this ends up being kind of heavy, right? I mean, not this in particular. This is 3 layers. We've got, well, not true, 6 layers, right? We've got the 3 rectangles, the 3 frames around them. And so an instance like this, if I open up my favorite plugin, Layer Counter, yeah, it takes 8 layers. This costs 8 layers to drop onto the canvas. It's not crazy expensive, but you know, I could achieve the same results by having these each be, like another way of doing this is have each of these be their own separate component, right? And then in my browser window, I could bake these in. They're all here. Let's put them in auto layout, right? And this is how I plan to handle things like the window controls, right? For Mac, we've got these cute little red, yellow, green buttons. For Windows, they're going to be over here, and there's going to be like the big red X and the minimize, you know. This is how I was going to handle those guys. Instead, I would have booleans, and I would say, like, again, imagining that this is something like the page back icon. We could say page back Chrome, page back Firefox. Oops, did not want to delete that. I wanted to duplicate it. Page back Safari. And then just respectively match them up to the mode where we want those things visible. And so, is this any less expensive? I think it's the same amount of expensiveness in terms of layers because you still have to have all of these guys on the canvas. Like I still end up, well, this is 6. And earlier it was 8. So there's actually a little bit of savings here. But the idea here is that you could hook up their layer visibility to those respective variables. So we've got page back Chrome. This one is going to be page back Safari, and this one is page back Firefox. And this browser window is in Firefox mode. And this is great because I can change the name of this all day long, right? This one was a bit more sensitive. Now, like, that's not really, I think like the spelling and like the matching is not that big of a risk in this circumstance. Like, I'm the only one building this file. I think when I sell this to folks, like, nobody's going to be coming in here and changing it. They wouldn't have a reason to. So thinking about like risk, I don't think this is that risky of a method going with the string. Chrome, Safari. Yeah, I don't know. What we're doing here, we're getting the exact same result, but we're just showing and hiding things, right? And there's more layers in the, well, these layers would have been here too. Both of these are viable. I'm kind of more attracted to this like showing hiding because it's another property that I don't have to add to the components. I think this is lighter weight. I would expect that variables are more lightweight than variants is kind of my operating model here when it comes to like file memory. And I'm very sensitive to file memory. I could probably stand to be less sensitive about file memory, but yeah, I think I'll go with the booleans. My mind could be changed. Okay, so I'm going to delete those variables, delete all this example stuff, and close out layer counter. Really good question about the icons. How will you make available the properties of the download snackbar? Oh, snackbar. That is what that is called. If it is hidden with a variable. Great question. I wonder if it should actually be available as like something that a consumer, when you buy this file, if you want to prototype downloading something from a browser, that you kind of have to do a bit of building yourself. Or I could just give you instructions on how to work with this thing, because Mihai's right. If I hide, just like with those booleans that I was working with just a moment ago, if I hide the snack bar with a boolean variable, then you wouldn't be able to show that layer to modify its contents, right, for your prototyping. You would actually have to disconnect it from that boolean, so that way you could compose what you needed to compose. You could do your text overrides, you could set up your variable connections and all that, and then you'd have to reapply that boolean so that way it shows up at the right time. So it might not even be worth doing. At least on my side, I could give, again, the instructions on, hey, this is how, if you want to use the download snack bar, this is what working with that looks like. This is a good point. Are you thinking of adding Arc? I was thinking about that yesterday. It feels ambitious to already be doing 3 browsers, but 4 modes, that would be like, potentially a good 4th option. And I'm thinking about like, originally, again, I wanted to put this resource out there for people who want to mock up things like for their portfolios, right? And I could see many designers being attracted to, like, especially if they have other designers looking at their portfolios. Like, we know that Arc is a pretty popular browser for folks who do this kind of work. I use it myself. I'm a big fan. So yeah, maybe we'll see. Maybe that's going to be an upgrade in the future. But for now, I'm going to stick with the 3, and we'll see how it goes. Why don't you use modes for the active, inactive states and just alias those to the tab background and so on? You totally could, right? This would absolutely be possible. Like when we're talking about active, inactive states, right? I'm kind of like duplicating things here. I could easily set a mode for those. I think the reason why I don't want to do that is because it is a state that belongs to the component itself and not a context that I want to set the whole scene in. The way that, like, I'm going to think of the browser as a scene that I want to be able to access. Like I would apply it at the parent frame level, and I need everything inside to respond to that changing of mode. And same for light and dark, right? But whether something is active or inactive, it's specific to that element. Like it's that tab, right? And I think, like, even though I could also manage things like hover state and something else like on click or while pressing, like I could also manage those, not even with modes necessarily, but I could put that into, I could store that as variables and get the same prototyping effects without using variants. I think Figma as a product it tries to be really unopinionated, but I think it has a bit of an opinion that, like, hey, variance is still what we want you to be using when it comes to managing interactive states. And I would count like active and inactive as part of that family of interactive states. I can't quite say why. I think if I had any insight into their roadmap, it would be like, I don't know where the product's going, but variables could manage interactive states, but I don't see that shift happening yet. I think Figma kind of wants us to stay using variants for those types of things and using variables more for like stuff that could apply to an entire section of a page or the whole frame, the whole window itself, right? So I'm going to stick with variants. I don't know if that's a very strong answer. I definitely don't want them as modes. I could just have them as variables, but even then, I think I'm gonna stick with variants. And it's more just like a gut feeling. So I don't know if that's, yeah, it's like the way I'm comfortable building. And maybe once we build some stuff, I might change my mind. Who knows? You could use the width of this. Yes, we talked about this earlier, right? Another way that I could manage this little vertical bar here is just by setting a stroke width that is like 0 for Firefox and Chrome and 1 for Safari, and that would help me out with the visibility of this. And I might even do that in addition to the color, right? Just for like a little insurance, I guess. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Mihai, for the questions. I hope those answers were helpful and helpful to anybody else who might have been wondering the same things and is watching this after the fact. Let's keep going with kind of taking an inventory. I was doing tab and kind of thinking through what are all of those variables that I'm going to need for light and dark mode. Thinking about tabs again. Oh, there's something, dimensions. And I think the dimensions of the favicon, the dimensions of the icon. So we have the favicon in there. And again, that's something that's going to change based on what browser we're in, but not based on what color mode we're in. The size of things is not going to be affected up there. So that variable lives here. So we're going to need another one of these for close icon. Dimension. I may or may not put dimension in the name when I actually go to make these, but this will be helpful in this like kind of planning space for me to know how I need to scope these. Like this is going to be scoped to padding. This is going to be scoped to corner radii. Great. I might even group them by like the attribute they get applied to. What other things? Padding, corner radii, the dimensions of the favicon and the close icon. I guess we could do the width of, like, I'm going to need to draw at some point a rectangle for these gradients. Or not a rectangle, but rather a frame, right? Oops. Like, it'll look something like this. when I actually get into the layers. So kind of eyeballing it right now. Something kind of like this. Well, actually, let's grab the real colors. Grab this purple. Right, so I'm gonna have, at some point, a gradient that looks like this. It'll be, and I'm gonna put a stroke around this so we can see what I'm doing. It'll be absolute positioned probably, and the width of this might change though based on the browser I'm in, right? Because maybe in Chrome, it's a lot more like it fades out over a longer area, that kind of thing. So what do we call that? I think we started to have a name. Grad stop, yeah, gradient stop. So we established the colors up here, which makes sense. But again, that whole thing is going to need a name. I guess we can call it like, it's kind of like truncation in a way. Like instead of just the little 3-dot ellipses, so maybe we can call it gradient truncation dimensions. I'm going to just let that go on to 2 lines. Okay, cool. So that's another thing. The width will change. What else? Space between. What is the space between the favicon and the label? That is something that will probably change based on which browser we're in. For that, I like to do this little arrow. It looks a lot nicer in the variable interface. It's actually like, it matches the font. It's not this like kind of big squishy Apple style emoji. So we'll do space between favicon and label. Actually, I wonder if this is maybe a better way to represent that. It's almost like closer to the physical composition, right? Like you have your favicon, and then I need to define the space between this and the label. Potential naming convention for when you have a variable for controlling space between. We'll see how that works out. So that's another one. We've got the padding, we've got the corner radii taken care of. Is there anything else about tabs? Again, to Mihai's point, stroke presence, right? Well, and let's also look at like kind of the interactivity here. So let's do google.com in one tab, and then we'll do, let's do my website, a little plug. We'll do that across all these browsers. Google, Alice, a bunch of me over here. Okay, I'm going to switch to Google for all of these. Stroke is what I'm looking for. Oh, this is going to be, oh my God, probably kind of annoying actually to build. Like this, this hover state for Chrome. Because it's like, you know what I think we're going to need is some sort of absolute positioned like frame within the frame. Urgh. Yeah, that's going to suck. Because like, oh, but it needs, yeah, it's like, it's aligned to, where's my rulers? It's aligned to the top, but it needs to be inset on the sides, and it's not touching the bottom, you know? So, okay, that's just going to be an interesting one. But going back over here, I don't think I need stroke for anything other than in Safari, where we've got this going on. Put this back up here. So I think that might be it. And again, I'm okay with getting like 80% of the anatomy planned out, but then discovering during the actual build that I need something or I'm missing something. So that's fine with me. Not sure what that guy's doing. Okay, so that's tab. We've got our colors all up here for light and dark mode. We get those aliased in down below. Just to make sure that everything's kind of matchy-matchy, I'm actually going to take these from up top. And I'm going to delete these just in case there's something that wasn't accounted for down here. Okay, so this is everything we need for tab. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 variables to style our tabs. Oh, icon visibility. That's something else that we didn't talk about. So if we go with my method of using the booleans, right, we are going to have golly. And this is, again, not something that will change based on what color theme we're in, but it will change based on what browser we're in. So we'll have, we'll need 3 for the favicons and 3 for the close icons. Although for the favicons, if all we're changing are the dimensions, actually, yeah, we don't need them for the favicons, but we do want them for the icons. The reason why we don't need them for the favicons, I think, ooh, we're going to find out. We're going to find out if we need them for the favicons. I don't think we do, because it's really just going to be a frame with a fill that's an image. And we're just changing the dimensions of that. But the icons, as we saw yesterday, like Chrome has a different style of icon than Safari, than Firefox. And so, and like different shapes, like wholly different shapes, right? Like this chevron versus these arrows. So if we go with the Boolean method, we will have close icon Chrome. The way that I'm using, by the way, these colons that are within the name, I'm thinking of them as like, this is like a modifier of something, or like a property. I don't want to say property, a very, a characteristic of this thing, like especially when it comes to, yeah, like, okay, background in its default state, background in its hover state. What else? I don't know. I guess I'm not that consistent with it or that regimented about it, but it seems like it's more space efficient than a dash. So I like it for that. And hopefully I've been consistent with this. I like to not put spaces in my variable names. Yeah. Okay, so showing and hiding the close icons in the correct mode. Tabs. There's a lot going on with tabs. I think we're going to run into some other weird things with tabs. I remember Safari being kind of problematic because, like, its responsiveness, there's like minimum and maximum widths I think that we might need to worry about. Like if I really stretch this window, and I'll do this in a way where you can see it. Oh, hey, Mihai, hey. Sorry, just seeing your comments. Welcome. Will this have the possibility to add more tabs and set which one is active? Yes, I do very much want to make that possible for prototyping. Yeah, you should be able to like use auto layout to add more tabs to this list. You would have to manually set yourself, like, this is the active tab. Like you could use, because I'm going to use variant properties for which, like, hey, this is an active tab and it's going to be a variant Boolean. Like you could have like 50 tabs and like all of them be in their active state. So if you want it to behave closer to what it would be in real life, you would kind of have to do it like you would do radio buttons in a prototype where you do need to set up a Boolean, like you'll have probably a prototyping variable collection, and then all of those Booleans for each individual tab that you might have in your prototype. And then they are on click of tab 3, all the other tabs turn off or become inactive, and tab 3 becomes active. So there will be some like manual setup, I think, on the consumer side to make it look real, but yes to that question. And if yes, how would you set which one is active and the number? Yes, that is it exactly. So just like I explained, you'll have a prototyping collection. The same way you would handle radios is what I'm thinking, how the prototyping is going to work. But what I wanted to, what I was like stretching these around for is like in Safari, you can see that like the tabs are going to be set to fill, right? And like I could just open tabs all day long and they'll just fill this space. But I think the labels are going to get weird, or like even, oh, you know what? This is going to be a weird one. Like the URL bar in Safari, like we can't do percentages, right? So it's like this bar is going to need to be set to fill if I want it to grow and shrink in the right way. But I might even need some like fake frames here, because like I don't, and this space is slightly smaller than this space. So it's, these are going to be possibly, especially for Safari, not super accurate. We will see. Hi, kitty. Okay, do you know that I'm streaming? You can't see her, but yeah, there she is. She looks so grouchy right there. Okay, I think we're good for tabs. We can move on to the next thing in the list, which is the icon buttons. And some examples of icon buttons would be, again, well, yeah, all these little controls, right? Back and forward, sharing, adding a new tab, creating a new window, whatever the heck this is, view site information, your browser extensions, this menu. How about in Firefox? What do we got going on? View recent, what is that? View recent browsing across windows and devices. Again, extensions. So yeah. Yeah, right on, right on. Okay, so we are gonna need, when we think about icon buttons for color, and yep, we already know that things like corner radii and icon size don't belong to the color theme collection. They are going to live down here. So again, I'm going to set myself up. We will have tab, put that at the bottom. This will be icon button. Come on. There we go. And I want to put those in an auto layout group, nudge that in. Okay, so corner radii icon size will change based on what browser we're in. But when we're thinking about the color of icon buttons, like the background, the foreground, yes, hover and default, we are going to need that. We are also going to need, well, since they're icon buttons, they're not going to have a label. So we won't need to, and that would get covered by the foreground anyway. Like I kind of want to lump those together, hoping that everything's consistent there. What about stroke? That would kind of also be a foreground thing, right? But you could think of it as like part of the foreground, but I wouldn't, because it often needs to be a different color. I think it's just those. These are going to be pretty simple, but we are missing some number variables for our icon buttons. We're going to need things like padding. And let's look at this, because like, so this close tab icon button, I mean, I would consider this an icon button, right? As I would refresh, but you can see that their dimensions are very, very different. So we might have like some general icon button padding, but then for the close icon, like I think actually we already have that taken care of. Yeah, we're gonna have the Booleans. And we're also going to need to close icon dimensions. So we might need to get more specific as we go. But like, I'm looking at these. Well, this one too, because it's inside the URL bar. Like, look at the padding of the bookmark icon button in Chrome versus over here. And same with this one. And it's because they're inside of another space, another container here. But these guys all pretty much look the same. This one's a weird one. Search tabs, and it has a different state. Again, it's in a different space. It's on a different background color. So it gets this like blue on hover. It's more of, what do you call those, squircles? It's like a square, but almost a circle kind of thing. But I think generally this is going to be what the state looks like. Okay, so we'll need to do that. Where did we go? Oh, icon button, corner radii, icon size, padding. Is that everything? I might need to, actually, icon button is maybe too generic. I think I'm leaning towards now naming them specifically. Like, for all the ones that are similar, like, I know that I will probably use the same variables to define padding, the background and foreground, default and hover states for like this back button and this page refresh and the corner radii. It's the same, but this add a new tab, you can see on hover, it's blue and it's a little bit smaller than the refresh button. So I think this will need to be its own thing. So let's add that to the list. Let's get really specific about our icon buttons. So we have icon buttons for closing tabs. Okay, here's our generic one. So I'm going to move that up. Icon buttons for closing tabs. Icon buttons for adding tabs. Right. What else is kind of a special snowflake? Then we've got, these guys can use probably the same ones, like bookmarking and viewing site information. And do all of them have that? So here's add page to reading list. Refresh. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. And then what about in here? Trackers. Okay. Icon button, I guess like, it's like stuff inside URL bar. There's so many different actions, right? In each of the three browsers. Like add to reading list is not something that Chrome is offering, is not something Firefox is offering. Firefox has this little security thing that the others don't have, but they all have, do they? Well, no, even for Safari, like if I want to bookmark this, that's adding a new tab. I think that happens over here. Right? Yeah, what's this? New tab group. I don't use Safari, so bookmarking is kind of a bit foreign to me. Like reading list can't be the same as bookmarks. Okay, I will figure that out. If you know, let me know. Make it absolute position, just set constraints. That should keep the search bar at that position and also stretch. Also add a min width so that it won't get too small. Yes, thank you, Mihai. Yeah, I'll have to experiment with that. So Mihai, apologies. I'm late to noticing when your comments come through, but yes, when you're talking about that responsiveness, like where what I would love to have is a percentage to deal with this, but yeah, the absolute positioning and then the minimum width, I will have to try. That's probably the best bet for Figma right now. And you know, like, that's another thing to keep in mind. like we can get pretty high fidelity with our Figma prototypes. But it's still a lot of smoke and mirrors. It's never going to be like the real web, and I'm cool with it not being a one-to-one match, like close enough. You can still learn a lot with a close enough prototype. Cool. Yeah, okay. So stuff inside the URL bar, I'm actually truly, since this is just a plan, I'm gonna leave that like that because it's not a good name. That's a horrible name for a component, but it will be memorable. I will know what I'm talking about, so it will serve a purpose and it will do a good job. Okay, so those are those icon buttons. What about some other special Snowflake icon buttons? I already have adding tabs. What about this thing? Searching tabs. Do we have that similar show tab overview? Those seem like the same animal. But these in Safari are all using the same one. Ooh, okay, so this gets tricky because why does this get tricky? Firefox seems like it has the fewest. It's like really just a matter of changing size, but this the color being used on these hover states actually looks consistent across all of these different little areas. And mind you, I don't even have my bookmarks open. We're not even talking about like, hold on. Yeah, if I get bookmarks, but even then, that hover state, it looks like that same gray color. How about here? I don't have any bookmarks in Chrome. Safari has a whole different way of handling them, more as like little menu items in that side panel. This isn't actually a component I would build. This is more a variable that I would need. But this is going to be, these would be components. And I would want them to be separate. You might be wondering like, well, hold on, like why get so specific? Like they're going to have the exact same, besides the icon itself, close tab and add tab are going to have the same behavior. But I think for prototyping, again, having them separated out lets you assign different actions to them, right? Like you could load up a close, like your close tab icon button, this thing and this thing need to close their respective tabs, right? And I guess you can put different like actions on instances, and that's probably how you would do it in real life. Maybe there's not a good reason to separate them. Oh man. This is kind of a point where like planning almost feels too difficult. Like I almost need to kind of get into the execution to like start to test something out because it's too much to hold in my head. So I think what I will run into in this stream and future streams is I will start executing, but then I will need to come back to this planning phase and do these little cycles. But I do want to get most of it, like the majority of my planning done here. So what am I trying to decide right now? This is a variable. I've already decided that. Stuff inside the URL bar. And we would need that for Chrome. So we would call these icon buttons inside the URL bar. It's not going to be a specific component, so I'll probably take that away. Oops. And of course, we're going to need background, foreground. We won't need the gradient stops. We will need something like this down here as well. Icon, button, stuff inside, and then again, corner radii, yeah, this same group for this group of variables. So this is not a component. Stuff inside the URL bar. I will leave those guys alone. Okay, URL bar itself. How about that one? So this guy. And this is where, Mihai, to your point, I will need to probably set up a number variable for minimum width if that absolute positioned, like having it pinned, but then have the minimum width. Oh, and this is going to be interesting too. The windows themselves are going to have a minimum width. Check this out. Like Chrome, so far, is the one I can squish down the most. How about Firefox here? Okay, so in terms of overall minimum width, we've got Firefox, Chrome, and then Safari. That's cool. That's interesting. I didn't even think about that. So that's just going to be overall. It's not even a component, but it's going to be a number variable. Min width. And I imagine they don't have a maximum width. Like Windows can just, you can just extend them forever. But that is good to know. And I think will be important too, right? Like I'm thinking of iterating. If I iterate on this file, I'd like to think I will. When we do get access to non-pixel values, like percentages, setting this minimum width and then like this becoming some sort of base for like I wonder if that number would be meaningful in the eventual future where, well, okay, probably not the minimum width, but I don't know. I'm just thinking like being able to do math in another number variable based on like, hey, take the minimum width value and then I need you to run this equation for this other number value using that. Browser min width is also dependent on the number of tabs and the add-ons. Totally. Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, okay, like let's load Safari up with just a bunch of google.com tabs. Pressure testing is such a good idea. Oh, and this is kind of getting interesting. Well, no, they are, I'm looking for, okay, so there's this point where the label goes away because you have so many tabs open. I'm kind of watching my one little tab of my website. I was wondering if this becomes like horizontally scrolling at some point, but yeah. Oh yeah, check that out. See, check out what's happening here. So they do start to just, there's this overlap. That's actually kind of a nice, yeah, well, okay, hold on. Is that the same minimum width? Maybe, maybe not. Interesting. Let's do a similar pressure test up here. I should learn the new tab keyboard shortcut. Chrome is kind of grouchy that I'm doing this. Okay. This looks way less cute. So it looks like the minimum width in Chrome is going to be based on like the favicon size. Like it cannot crunch down any further. And do we get like a similar horizontal scroll? Like, hold on, let me crunch this down. I didn't even try. Yeah, so I can like horizontally scroll. Okay, like this animation, no way. Like we're not doing this in Figma. And if somebody wants to again use these mockups to try, like if you need to prototype this as an experience, I mean like who knows what you're working on? That's kind of crazy to me. But you know what? Like go off and good luck. Figure it out. This is a bit further than I want to personally go. This is where it would stop getting fun for me. I think I have plenty of other things I'd want to tackle with. But it's good. It's a really good thing to think about. I don't want to, Mihai, I'm not trying to like dunk on you bringing it up. I think it's important to think about this stuff and check it out. Check out Firefox. They've got in their little tab carousel, they've got these, see, like we've revealed a part of the interface by doing this. Like you can horizontally scroll, right? If you have like a trackpad, but you can also paginate through. And these don't show up until, like, actually, I bet they'll go away if I stretch the browser far enough. Yeah, check that out. At some point, they'll come back. So it's right around here. We get these pagination controls for our tabs. What about in Chrome? I think not. Both Chrome and Safari want you to, they expect you probably have a trackpad and you're very comfortable with scrolling. But Firefox gives you actual signifiers that that's needed. Like, this is something my mom would appreciate more. Having the paginations. All right, sweet. So we're gonna need, that's a component. And it's another icon button. And check out the dimensions of this guy. Like, it's slim, you know? Everything else has been squared off in Firefox. Everything else is squared off. Not these pagination controls for the tabs. Sweet. So that's one where, yeah, I think it'll be its own component. And I will call it icon button. I'm going to say Firefox only here in the name. Again, I don't think I'll put that in the component name, but I just want this for my like little planning document here. Icon button, Firefox only, tab, menu tab, pagination, chevrons, controls, we'll do that. And again, that's going to be one where, so we'll have tab, I'm just going to copy the name from up here. And we will need, oh, oops. Let's put this at the bottom of the list. The padding is going to be the only thing different, but I expect we will apply the icon size number variable and the corner radii variable. Those are going to actually come from like this base icon button, but where we deviate is the padding, right? Because left and right padding is going to be smaller than something like this, or like another control like this one. Here, I expect it to be equal on all sides. And in fact, we're going to need, we're going to need two of these guys, right? We're going to need top bottom will be the same and left and right will be the same. Yes, yes. Okay, sweet, sweet. Okay, we were working on the URL bar though. What do we have for the URL bar? Or I think I meant to start working on the URL bar. And actually, hold on, do I want to, I think I kind of want to get rid of these Safari ones. I want to work just in one browser in my planning document, knowing that I'm going to copy all of this stuff until I get down to Firefox, and then like this will get duplicated again for Firefox and Safari. Okay, so let's work on, URL bar. So that's a component. It's going to need background and foreground, hover and default, color changes, URL bar. And that's it for light and dark mode. We don't have to think about, oh, this is weird. Oh God. I'm looking at, for the label itself, or it's not the label, the value. The URL bar does not have a label. It doesn't need one. This has been around for decades, and we know that it's called that without having like URL bar at the top. Anyway, but check out the label. https://www dot is darker in Firefox, and then the actual, like where the domain name starts, is lighter, because, and that's kind of a nice treatment actually, right? Because like this is what you call the website by. Like we don't actually need to handle this anymore. We don't need to type this in to get to the correct address. Similar to when you're filling out a form with your phone number, and you put in, there's many formats for phone numbers, and a good form will accept whatever format you put in, and then if they need on the receiving side a particular format, they will reformat it for you. And that is what our URL bars are doing if we do not ourselves type in https:// whatever. So that's great. Chrome doesn't do that. Chrome doesn't even show https://www. They just have this. Oh, I guess you can like double click in there to reveal it, but that's all one color. So that's going to be easier. Okay, and same for Safari. When you click in, you actually get that prefix, but even in that state, it is all one color. So we can do this though. This is not a problem. This does not need to be one text layer. And this can be something that is only present for Firefox. So we have, let's first think about colors, right? And we can expect these two, this gray and this like white, are going to change when we go into light mode. So our URL bar is also going to need, for the foreground, right? Because that value is in the foreground. We're going to need foreground. Oh, but this only applies to Firefox. Mihai, this is what you were talking about yesterday with your first question that you asked. Because right now I'm planning in the world of Chrome. Okay, so maybe I shouldn't have been so quick to delete things. So for Chrome, this is fine. But for Firefox, we want to do something a wee bit different. We are going to need extra foreground here. And in fact, foreground might not even be, because those URL, these buttons, right? We've got URL bar, or no, I'm sorry, we've got, shoot. Where'd you go? Oh, icon button inside the URL bar. Okay, I kind of want to position this close to my URL bar. So yeah, those icon buttons, foregrounds, like the color of the icons themselves are taken care of. So we're really only talking about the value there. So for Chrome, it's just the one. And for Firefox, we will have foreground HTTPS, and then we'll do foreground. Well, this is default and hover, but we'll need more of these for, and I'm going to call it Addy, like the actual, well, not Addy. The address is the whole thing. Let's call it domain. Maybe this should actually be like prefix, because not every website has the S, right? Like sometimes it's just HTTP because somebody doesn't have their, this is kind of getting beyond me. Like S, I know, I think stands for like secure or security. And there's something about, I don't know how all that works. My site's built on Webflow. I feel like I get that kind of automatically through their hosting. I don't know. Either way, I think this is how I want to handle it. So for Chrome and for Safari, Okay, so I need to not be so quick to delete things out of these groups, even though this list is going to get quite long, because this is why we're planning. We need to make sure that all of the quirks of each browser are kind of accounted for. Okay, so that's our URL bar for color, but we need to think about it in terms of what is visible in there, and that is going to change based on what browser mode we're in. So let's, again, oops, not where I wanted to put you, tab. Why are you going there? Yeah, that's where you need to be. So URL bar. It is going to have, without a doubt, oops, duplicate that whole group. It will have different padding based on what browser we're in. I expect it to be all on the same sides. Corner, radii. Is it 2 eyes? Not going to worry that much about it. What else will be different? Oh, the space between. Oh, and the minimum width. Remember earlier? Min width. It probably also has a maximum width. Hold up. Yeah, just because I can stretch this thing. Firefox doesn't seem to have a maximum width. I'm on a 27-inch monitor, so it could be more extreme. Does Chrome have a maximum width? No. I think Safari does. No. Okay, they all stretch, all up till the end. So no maximum width, but probably minimum widths. Well, no, because if we set a minimum width on the whole container, actually, yeah, I don't think we need a minimum width. No, don't even need it. Okay, let's talk about icon visibility. So site information, I think, is something that each browser offers. Something that Safari does that's weird is it puts the reload, actually, it's not that weird, but it puts the refresh button inside the URL bar. Chrome and Safari don't. Oh, weird space between the bar and the buttons on the left and right. Like this space, like when you're outside the URL bar? Or are you talking about? Wait, hold on. And you're looking at Firefox and Safari. Oh, I might need you to be more specific. I think you might mean this space, but right now I'm kind of thinking mostly about like the bar itself and then what's inside. Okay, yeah. Yeah, this is going to get weird. I'm thinking of this entire horizontal container. I think I've got that guy named. Is going to be, it's one of my layers where it's like, it doesn't need to be a component because like this space isn't interactive. Oh, shoot. Okay, we've got URL bar as a frame and URL bar as a component. Shoot. We'll have to rename those. What would this bit of anatomy be? Like, this is the URL bar. Here's what I could change it to. This could become a URL input. That's what it is. Oh, it affects the min and max width values and also the component. Oh, yes, the space. Yes. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to getting to that part. It's going to get weird. It's just going to be weird. URL bar. This is my first time really using the find and replace to do something like this. Input, input, input. This actually works surprisingly well. Okay, I think those are all the places I wanted to change it. Good, so URL bar is going to be the name of that container. URL input is more the thing that I'm focused on right now. I think we might have like a lot of these. Here's how I think I want to handle it with as few variables as possible. Each of like the icon locations are different. Like adding this to the reading list, first of all, that the concept of a reading list, I think, is only present in Safari. So that's like something specific to Safari. And then again, like Firefox has this shield and the lock on the left, but like also the whole value of the URL input is moved over to the left, but in Safari it's centered until it's in its active state. Holy crap, and it slides. Oh my god. And look at the animation for like the favicon up here. That's gonna be crazy. And for Chrome, ooh, I might leave out this goofy little Google Lens thing. I don't even know what that is. Yeah, if you want this for your prototype or your mockup, like you can build that yourself. You can put it in. I will make sure that is possible, but I'm not going to mess with that. This feels like a feature that Google could easily kill, like, and then it wouldn't be an accurate mockup anyway of like the browser. I want just like the basic and stable stuff. So I think what I want to do is just have a general set of Boolean variables in the URL input that I can apply to the correct icon layers. So that way the right stuff shows and hides without getting super specific, right? So we'll say Chrome only icons. Firefox only icons. Safari only icons. And I think what this will let us do, I might even have to do the same with the, oh, but you know what, God, that's gonna get so annoying. Because what I'd like to have happen is for your overrides to be protected. Like if I have a browser mockup in Figma and I type in google.com and then for some reason I want to switch from Firefox mode to Chrome mode, you shouldn't lose, the same way with swapping components, right? You shouldn't lose the fact that you typed in google.com, because what I'm gonna do for the default value is probably just gonna be like url.com, right? Like that's gonna be just the generic standard text that I use. What was I gonna say? Oh, what I'm nervous about is like I just had this idea of, oh well, I could have just the same way I'm gonna do with icons, where I'm gonna show and hide the correct icons, is I can also show and hide two different URL input value layers, because this one I need to be center aligned. I need like the whole URL input to be like auto layout center, but then in its active state it needs to slide to the left, and this should be filling, right? The text should go from hug to fill. But here I need it to be left, like center vertically, but like left aligned. and I can't target auto layout alignment with variables. And so that's where I had just now this idea of I'll just have two different text layers for this URL input value. But then your overrides won't be preserved unless unless I make it a little bit more complicated and do the string. You could do it for the URL bar, the following: buttons, spacer left, input, spacer right, buttons. Exactly, exactly. Oh wait, hold on. Spacer left. Oh, you're kind of typing out like almost like that's the composition, Mihai. Set the min and max values to the spacers. Have everything set to fill. This allows you to have the same structure and just change the variables for the browser. Yes, yes, right, because yeah, check out, like, let's actually, like, I'm gonna make these a more reasonable width, and then we can stack them to, like, look at the different spaces. But, like, we're gonna stack them all up. Oh, it's just slightly off. There we go. I need to turn on my brightness, actually. Yeah. Okay, so like we can see here in Safari, like it's huge. Firefox, not as huge. And then Chrome, it's almost nothing. Like the URL bar becomes it's just set to fill. So it would be those spacers, Mihai, that you're talking about. Yeah, like it's almost nothing here. And let's do a quick little, oh wait, hold on. How do I want to take a screenshot. I'm going to come back over here. I do want to do a quick measurement with some rectangles. I'm going to assume some padding for that chevron for the forward button there. Just a rough. Yeah, so we've got 157 pixels here, 258 over here. So yeah, we'll have these different spacers like you're describing. Exactly. Really good suggestion. And those will belong to URL bar, like those spacers will be in there. Let's throw it down. Let's throw it down right now. So yeah, we'll have min width. And then in the world of, oh, hold up. Well, I want my little, not hashtag, but where did that go? Ah, this guy. For just like a vanilla frame. Hello? I'm actually just going to put this in here. Okay, not window controls, but rather URL bar, right? And then as you're suggesting, Mihai, we'd have left or spacer left, spacer right. And if I'm going to be consistent with my other left and right and top and bottom, I'm just going to use, yeah. So these number variables would get applied to the width of these spaces here. This is the thing though, is like it's not going to be a fixed, like you're saying, like they're going to have maybe a minimum width, but they'll need to be set to fill. But like, I don't think they'll be, if they're set to fill, okay, I need two values. I need minimum and maximum for both, do you think? Because like it's even more dramatic here. Like, look how much smaller this space got compared to this one. Like, I would love a percentage. But maybe between, let's do a quick test. What are we doing? We can just do things. Okay, so here's going to be my spacer left, right? Spacer right. And then URL bar. And I'll even crank up the we will change the color here. Okay, so it's going to look like this. Like this is going to be my URL bar. This will be my URL input, right? This is going to be a component. And I need this guy to be a little bit smaller than this guy, imagining this is Safari, right? And I'm not even going to use variables just yet. But right, we know we need a minimum width. Let's say 30 for this one. And we don't want these fixed. We want them to be set to fill. We also want the URL bar to be set to fill. Right, and this does what I thought it would do, where everything is now 72.33. This guy needs a minimum width. And let's say the minimum width on this one is 70. And so so this is only with minimum width applied. As these stretch, everything is still equal sizes. But if we put maximum widths on, well, I don't know. I'm not sure what the maximum width value would be because again, it's like this can go on forever. I mean, maybe I have to pick an extreme top end, it seems. All right. But let's just set something just for the test. So like maximum width 120. And then for this one, we'll say something really wild, like 400. So that one can go on forever. So now, as this stretches, so you get, it hits that bumped edge, but in this in-between, hold on. Oh, no, it is doing exactly as you described. We do get, hold on, I wonder if I can make this more apparent by giving these a gradient fill. There is a period where they are equal. Like 116 here, 116 here, but I think that doesn't last for very long. Like, are they still equal here? 84, 84, but there gets to be a point where now I can start to see it. We've got 60 and 70. So again, not perfect, but I'll take it. I didn't expect it to actually work that nicely. Okay, good test. Nice. Spacer, spacer min, spacer max. Oh, and this is not a Boolean, this is a number. And we'll do the same thing for the right, spacer min, spacer max. Sweet. Sweet. Okay, good. So, and then back to the icons, I'm just going to have, again, URL bar. For the input, we're just going to use 3 different Booleans to apply to all the different icons showing and hiding. How do I deal, though, with this dilemma of... Oh, hold up, actually. I'm sorry. I just thought of something. Like, this doesn't have to be icon specific. I could hang a bunch of dependencies off of Booleans that are Chrome only, Firefox only, Safari only. I'm sure there's more stuff beyond the icons inside of the URL bar, just like with here. Like, I think the window controls are probably the only thing that are the difference between Mac and Windows. I do not think the interface appears different otherwise. So it's okay to name them specifically here, but we will probably uncover other things that are specific to one browser. So what I'm saying with this is that this could be just like there's min width for the browsers overall, we could just have some very generic booleans that get applied to the layer visibility of a bunch of stuff, right? It doesn't have to only be those icons. So I'm actually going to move those up here. But we should keep track, perhaps, of what will get, like what these get applied to. One of them being icons in the URL input. Okay, so putting that aside though, I still don't know how to deal with the fact that the value of the URL input is centered in Safari, but in Chrome and in Firefox, it is left aligned. Because I cannot target values like hug and fill and fixed with a variable. I can't change that across modes. So I have to pick one. I also can't target the alignment, right? I have to pick probably, and I'll go with the majority here. I'll probably go vertically centered, but pushed to the left, because both Chrome and Firefox have the label pushed to the left. So, Mihai, I'm taking inspiration from what you just suggested with the spacers. I wonder if I can still have those settings. Again, let's do another little setup here. url.com. Inside this thing, right? In Safari, it needs to look like this. But in Chrome and Firefox, it needs to do this. I cannot target this or this with a variable. And just one moment, I'm going to take a small break because there is a very loud truck outside my windows, and I'd like to close my windows so it stops distracting me. I will be back within 5 minutes. Okay, we're back. I cannot target fixed, hug, and fill. I would love to be able to apply a string variable to these. I hope we get that option someday. And I don't know what variable would get applied here, but I'd love to be able to target this with a variable. Anyway, so these are the setups I need. How do I accommodate, how can I have both of those? How can I make both of those possible? I think that spacers are probably the solution, right? Especially if I put two of them in here set to fill, and let's give them a fill, right? And these would be frames that take advantage of the Safari only Boolean variable. Check it out. Let's freaking do it. Hold on, because I've already got that collection set up. Boolean, Safari only. Bam. We apply this to the layer visibility, Safari only. And I want collection 2. Boom. I think this is it. So now in Chrome and in Firefox, we get the correct setup, but in Safari, and you know what, these can even be, let's remove that fill. That's it. That's it. We've got these spacers here. And then for the prototyping, right, this one needs to go away, or it needs to get a lot smaller. Check this out, number variable. We'll call this like Safari left, Safari nudge left width. Oh, actually, no, I don't want to use the width for that. What I'm thinking about is I need this to actually smush down, or I need this one specifically to become invisible when Safari does this, right? Like it's centered when the URL bar is inactive, but as soon as it's active, right, it's like I need just that one on the left to go all the way away. But because those are going to be different variants, right? So let's replace that. Let's call this URL bar, right? Let's just mock this up real quick. So our property here, right? We know that we are going to have URL input. We're going to have a variant Boolean for active and inactive, right? So let's say this is we have a property called active. By default, it's going to be false, but when that bar is active, it's going to be true. In the inactive state, I need these to be showing. And let's call this, we're just going to call it left and right, and then we'll do the same in here, because it's going to be important. I think the layer names are going to help us out. So Safari only, Safari only. Let's put these in Safari mode. Oh wait, no, we already are. But yeah, let's do it at, well, no, I don't want to set modes on my main components. I think that messes stuff up. I've seen that in the community forum where people get like messed up when they're doing they're trying to get tricky with their modes and like forcing modes on the main component. So I want to do it for an instance in a frame. So let's get this in Safari mode. Did I? Oh, I set the width to fixed. I want that to be fill, and it's off. Why is it off? Did I turn it off? Yeah, exactly, Mihai. You're anticipating exactly where I'm going. We're deleting it for the second variant. I was actually going to leave it in there, but then just like have the width go to 0. I like your solution better. Just delete that layer. Why isn't this doing its thing? We're in Safari mode. Why can't I? Okay. I've done something dumb. Do I need to make these auto layout layers? Like, I want this to be Phil, not hug. What is up? Why can't I get to hug? This has auto layout. This has auto layout. I'm putting the fill back on these. What am I missing? Because of the variable? No, like here they are. I'll try it. Here, we'll select everybody, attach, and show. No, what is up? These are set to, okay, no, they're set to, I have fill. I just had this. It's a bug. What if I'm gonna try rebuilding. Okay. We're gonna delete everybody. I'm gonna take this. Right, and I want my spacers. Okay. Fill. Great. Left. Right. It doesn't show if you change the fill to hug. Okay. I don't know if I follow quite yet, but I do want to try rebuilding this. We're not going to apply this variable just yet. Got Safari. Okay. And then I'm going to go with your method, Mihai. In this one, we are just deleting the layer. And actually, no, do I even need to test this? Because look, this is working. And this is all in the context of Safari. This is going to be the setup. If the layer is hidden, but it will be set to what you are setting it. Oh, I don't know if I follow all the way, but like I can see this is the construction that I do need. No? Oh no! I wish I could just get you in the file, get you on like the audio. Set it to 0 width? Okay. But here's the and don't add the variable. Okay. Okay, so in this case, it won't be fill, it's just gonna be 0. And we don't even need to control that with variables. Yeah, you're right. There's no reason to set a variable there. Because this whole, I will be setting all of these, like if I put this on here, hold on. Just so I can like access Safari only. I want to get first access to my modes. I'm going to set that on frame 40. So we're in Safari mode. And then I want to apply that as well. Oops. Safari only. So those are going to stay, right? And then now if I go into Firefox mode, no, that's what I want. Safari, boom. Okay, that's it. This is it. So I will need the visibility, but I don't need to make a number variable for this guy. Like this, in imagining that this is a variant in a set, like that can just be hard-coded part of it, because again, these left-right spacer frames only apply to Safari. So if it was another browser that needed a similar treatment like that, I would maybe need to get involved with like number variables up here, especially if they weren't exactly the same values. Okay, thank you. Thank you for hanging with me. I really, this is another great reason to live stream, right? Like for folks who are available, I can leverage the brain power of other people and their expertise in building this and making it better. In fact, maybe I should, I will probably need to give like, have like a credits page, right, on this resource and say like, you know, Mihai helped me build this, give him a follow, or discounts for everybody who has helped build this thing, and then when it's available for sale, like, yeah. Anyway, back to our variables. So I think I'm going to delete this. This is another reason streaming's kind of nice, is like I feel fine about like tidying up my canvas because I can come back to these videos, and if I need to re-reference something, I'll just play back my own stuff. What were we working on? It was URL bar, it was these spacers, but it was also the input, and it was, right, those booleans. And so for URL input, specifically for Safari, no, we don't need, this is going to be min max width for the overall. No, we don't even need that because it's handled by those. Right, it's handled by the spacers. So yeah, we don't need to add anything. We may have done it. And then when it comes to this active state, I think this is the only like tabbable thing that is not part of the web page. Like if I wanted to, how would I though? If I wasn't using a mouse, how would I tab over to my these buttons? Wait, need what? Oh, those min-max widths that I just deleted? I also think there might be like a 1-minute delay, Mihai, between like when you're sending messages and when I'm receiving them. So I apologize if I'm slow to respond. I'm gonna pause, give you a minute to type. Oh wait, no, I thought we tested that earlier though. With like I thought I only need these. Like this should be able to get set to fill, just regular vanilla fill, right? Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, that's a significant delay. It's probably something like 2 minutes. Well, maybe not that dramatic. Probably closer to a minute. I'll check my settings though. I want to make sure that I have messages coming through instantly. I'll double check that for next time I stream. Oh, but here's the thing though. Okay, so you're saying yes, but the input will be too small. I think I'm going to be covered because here again, we will, oh God. If I've got my spacers, if I've got the URL bar, right? Everybody is set to fill, but then we have minimum width. Let's call this 20, maximum width 50, and then this one, again, we'll do something more dramatic. Minimum width 30, maximum width 100, right? But then for the browser window frame, if I set a minimum width on this, which let's see what our smallest is. What did I do here? Minimum width 20. I don't know. Let's do, yeah, minimum width 20 or 30 even. Minimum width on the whole browser window. Actually, that's too small probably. We probably need to do something like that. I think the minimum width on this browser window level will protect me, right? So, oh no, well, I kind of see what you're saying. Okay, so maybe I need to do something more realistic number-wise, but my thought was that if this is like high enough, right, like then this gets protected by still being set. Yeah, for the input. No, me too. Like, I don't have a minimum width here. it'll push the spacers to smaller. I mean, I know I've got like kind of like, you know, ballpark numbers here, but I don't know if the cat sounds are coming up on the mic, but I've been joined again. Yeah. Look at Safari. All right. So let's squish this down. Oh, at a certain point, the one on the right just goes away. I see. Oh, I see. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm with you. Yes. Because this needs to squish down a lot. So like what is this set to? This is 33. So let's say minimum width 30. See what that does. Right? So we're squishing. Now hold on. Let's remove the minimum width here on the browser window. Right, and then we hit that. Maybe this one doesn't need a minimum width necessarily. No, I think it does. Yeah, okay, solid. I'm with you. Thank you. Thank you for coaching me through that. I know it's probably difficult over not only with me being able to, you know, test things and I can use my voice here and stuff, but you've only got the chat and we're dealing with a minute delay. So that you're very patient and generous. I really appreciate it. So URL bar does need its own min width. It probably does not need a maximum width. Okay. URL bar. I think I was moving on to the focus ring next. And this is going to be something that the color, ooh, is the color going to change in light and dark mode? Oh, and here's something else. It's like it doesn't even, Firefox doesn't even have like a focus ring. It just, you instantly, hold on, let me get out of the web page and tab up into the URL. Oh, okay, so this one does have it. Take a screenshot of this real quick because that was difficult to get to just with clicks. Okay. I want to really quick just see if that's different in light and dark mode. So I'm going to, over here on my other browser, change the appearance of my desktop real quick. And let's just compare, since I did those screenshots for Firefox. Are these different blues? Oh, they definitely are. Yeah, look at that. Okay, cool. Let's go back to dark mode. So because there is a difference in light and dark mode, that means for URL input, we will need to target the stroke. And it doesn't change on hover. Yeah, the stroke is just the one color. So it will have a light and dark, and then URL input across the different browsers is also going to need that would just map in here. And so we will connect we're going to need Oh, we need the context of like light and dark here. Like, oh geez. Yeah. All of this needs to get indented. Um, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how, wow, 4,800 miles is a lot. I think what the United States is like, okay, my guess off the top of my head is that like end to end or coast to coast, the United States is like 3,500 miles. Um, so yeah, we are pretty far apart. Um, okay, stroke. Yeah, I'm realizing, yeah, all of this needs to get indented. We need to have light. Or no, not at that level, not at that level. Like, where are we aliasing in color? Yeah, because we've got active, inactive, but again, light and dark mode. Oh wait, no, no, no. I'm sorry. I'm getting confused on my own model. Let's go back to stroke. So we'll have one variable that encapsulates both light and dark mode. Oh, and then this is in the content. Okay, so we've got Firefox. Okay, we're good. I'm sorry. So we've got URL input here. But we need it to be present up here because this is the Chrome group and then there's the Safari group. So for Firefox, yeah, thank you. Sorry, thank you for. All right, what down here is specific? We've got foreground. Oh, right, these are Firefox specific because of that whole, yeah, different colors here. Blah blah blah. All right. So stroke is going to apply to Safari. I think I need to start calling out in my plan things that are special snowflake variables that like only exist for this group. And maybe I'll do it by color. Let's grab a brand color. Like a nice deep orange. So that'll be our Firefox red. Grab these guys. So these variables are specific to Firefox. And I should probably, I'm going to bold this. I'm going to also make it orange. Black is going to be universal. Chrome. Probably could get rid of this browser group, but I'm going to leave it for now. It's not messing up the plan. For Chrome, specific things. I'm going to use that kind of goofy green because it's far away from orange. Chrome. And do we have any Chrome specific variables yet? I don't think so. I don't think so. And Safari is going to be blue, of course. And we will use one of these darker ones again. Okay, this should help me keep organized. again, oopsie, there we go. We will call out when things are specific in any of our collections. Hold up. I'm button. Ah, here we go, Firefox only. Menu tab pagination controls. Yeah. And so, okay, like again, going back to Firefox, and we've got all these tabs. These, the same way that this shield icon is going to be specific to Firefox, like so will the visibility of these pagination controls. And yeah, their padding is going to be actually. If these are specific to Firefox, we don't need to use a variable because it just it would be pointless because it would be a nothing. It's not even going to be visible in Chrome and Safari, so it can just be hard coded, right? If we were being really like systematic about where these numbers are coming from, and like we had like a whole number scale system, and I wanted to alias things in, again with like the idea that, oh, I want to be able to update this easily. I don't want to try and reverse engineer each of these browsers spacing schemas to that degree. I'm fine hard coding. Like I'm just going to punch in whatever the padding is, and it is what it is. In that case, I don't need to define these. It's just their visibility. And again, that's something where like I kind of should be taking notes of what's going to go in here. Yeah. Pagination control should be a component Boolean property because it is only when the browser is small and you have a lot of tabs. That's such a good point. So you not only need to be in Firefox mode, but it's something that you need to be able to opt into at a certain width. And the designer should probably be the one to say like, yeah, I'm turning this on at this point. Which allows you to turn on those pagination controls at like a really wide width. And this is where like documentation kind of comes in, where you want to be able to, like for somebody who's not looking at browser windows this closely, like if they are wanting a realistic experience, you need to know that, hey, at this point, at this width, don't opt in, do not show those pagination controls. That only happens down here. And yeah, so there's enough factors, there's enough things to consider that I think that's not something we can yet programmatically bake in Figma and make it as automatic as this real life setup. It's going to be something that like designers are just going to have to handle. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'm just going to make I'm actually going to do this off to the side. I'm going to do comment threads, maybe. Because like this is yeah, I don't want to mess with my planning setup here, but I do want to keep track. So be Firefox. No, I want it to be on the canvas. Comments are going to get stupid. So we'll have pagination in the tab bar. Oh, that's going to be a new, well, no, we have the icons covered, but the icon button, that's going to be a new icon button that we need. That again is going to be Firefox only. This is going to be tab pagination left, tab pagination. Do I want to split the directionality as separate components? I will for now. Okay. And I'm going to link to that text layer, so that way I can jump to that in my inventory. Oh, it jumps to the whole frame? Okay. I'm going to remove that. Oh, they don't need to be a component. They can live in the component as static and just don't show them in Firefox mode. They don't. Well, they have these they have the hover states. I think I disagree, but let me know. So like they have, like this one has a disabled state too, because we're at the end of the list. Oh my God, imagine prototyping this, like getting to the end point, and then like it has to also, how would you even do that? Anyway, there's like a hover state, there's a disabled state, and for that, I'm inclined to make them components. GSC for the hovers. Oh, I need you to tell me what GSC is. Global state component. That is a new concept for me. Global state component. Would that be like, I guess I'm thinking of a variable where you just have a very generic, like, this is my hover state for many, many things. And then you alias that in to more specific, or not even alias it in, but you just apply that to, I don't know if YouTube lets you put links in the chat for a live stream. That might be like against their, I don't know. That might be, they might be weird about that, but like if you have a link that you could send me to, if anybody's written up global state component stuff, like I'd be interested in hearing about that as a method. I mean, again, it's probably going to, for Firefox especially, because I'm noticing that Firefox is very consistent with their hover states and their icon buttons, probably more than the other browsers. It's just this left and right padding that's weird. That's the only weird thing about it. Everything else is really, really consistent. So for Firefox, it's like I could just get away with just one big generic icon button and just swap out whatever icon is being used. How do you close these tabs when they're all collapsed like this? Hold up. Oh, wow. Yeah, like the close icon goes away. Check that out. Oh, no. Okay, so I'm not getting the links in the chat. And you should know that I'm viewing the chat through OBS, the streaming software that I'm using. So I wonder if, hold on, I've got a window open with like my YouTube streaming information. Let me see if I can see the URL directly through YouTube Studio. Oh, check Twitter, yeah. Let me go to the control room. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, YouTube's not showing me the links either, but we're on Twitter. All right, let me go back to the stream. Oh, hey, look at that from you. Good, good. Even more. You'll know this very well then. An approach to creating components for design systems that can reduce the number of variants is achieved through a component in your design system. It makes it easier to manage and maintain most of your states. I'm nervous that this is a base component, but let's take a look. Oh, what a nice presentation. Mm-hmm. Label, icon placement, what state is it in? Mm-hmm. But with component properties. Okay. Yes, component properties make this a lot better. It does take away this ability to have like more opinionated icon placement, but that's the only negative trade-off. I think component properties. Okay, it is a base component. Ah, global state component. Yeah. Because we don't manage 3 of the states in the button component, we dramatically reduce. Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, but is it a base component? Because we're not even using components yet. This is using styles, right? So like, oh, where's the prototype at? Maybe at the end? I forgot that I could just press play and get it that way. Okay. Oh, and this is cool. It's kind of like material. You can do these like, yeah, these blooming rectangles. I might need to take a even more close look at this. Right, yeah, because we have absolute positioning now. Oh, neat. Okay. It's been about 2 hours, and I think, well, I've got lunch plans actually, so I need to bounce for that, but made a lot of progress and matured the planning process with those color assignments and got tons of help from you, Mihai, on like thinking through some of these both components and frames that I'm going to have to support. So I'm already so excited for next Friday. Who knows? Maybe I will. I kind of want to keep the momentum. Maybe I'll stream on another weekday early in the morning, get another hour in. But yeah, again, best way to get notified of when the next stream is going to be subscribing on YouTube. I believe as soon as I schedule a stream, that you get like a notification that that's upcoming, and you can like set a reminder if you want. I'll keep noodling on that idea about if I get help from brilliant minds like Mihai, or questions even from just folks who are curious about this build process, about how I can keep track of that and what it might look like to give you guys discounts or at the very least credits for your help in the file, because at this point this is now a community effort. You know, as Figma likes to say, and I very much believe myself, nothing great is built alone. So I really appreciate it, and stay safe.